In case you don't know, we use Anchor to distribute our podcast. We love it because it's free, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. There's no minimum listenership to start earning money, if that's a goal for your podcast. And everything you need to make a podcast is in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started creating your own podcast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was just taking a sip of my coffee and I was very excited that I have blueberry muffin coffee.
Oh.
It's very good. Sometimes it's the little things.
I mean, what else do we have? Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that, oh man, that sounds deeply cynical. I really didn't intend for it to come across that way, but there you go.
Right.
So today on What the Finance, we wanted to spend some time, as we're talking about like budgeting when you don't get paid regularly and all these big moves in the tech world, to also talk a little bit about all the layoffs that seem to be happening in the tech world. Now, in preparing for this episode, I did actually look up how many people were laid off.
I was just doing that, yeah. So if I looked far up, it's because I was.
So last year, in 2022, about 120,000 people were laid off, kind of in that overarching tech space. And I actually just saw this morning, but haven't really dug into it, that LinkedIn is the next in a long line of what could be considered like a tech, like social media company that has announced layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that 2023 is really off to a great start either.
No. Well, and I think that when this topic first got put on the schedule to record, it was pretty specifically in the tech industry that we were seeing the layoffs, and that has changed since then. Disney has laid off since then, and there was another bigger name one. I don't remember, but it was very specific to the tech industry when we first decided we were going to do this, and then it has moved to other industries as well. Although it does seem to, I'm looking at a list, and it does seem to be pretty heavily still the tech industry that's being impacted, but not only the tech industry. So
right. Well, and so one of my favorite management scholars, which if you've been listening for a while, you know that, yes, I'm like the type of person that does actually have a favorite management scholar. Jeffrey Pfeffer, I've talked about him before. He wrote The Human Equation, Building Profits by Putting People First, in the late 90s. He teaches at Stanford and recently did an interview about all of these layoffs, which is really good. And I will link to it in the show notes because I think it's really good. And kind of like what he was talking about was like a big part of the reason that so many tech companies are laying people off is because they're just copying everybody around them. like apparently these people are the ones who, when their parents said, hey, if all your friends jumped off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff too? They went, well, yeah, I would. Because now they're all doing it. So like there's just like a little bit of copycatting going on, then that these companies are actually in some sort of real financial trouble.
Yeah.
But that does kind of spread out across industries, right? Like we're also seeing a lot of layoffs in retail that are more than just like normal seasonal, right? Like, hey, Christmas is over, so we're not going to have as many like cashiers at your local Target or, whatever. So yeah, that's the thing.
It definitely is. And the tech industry is one that I have some interest in. As a somewhat nerd, I feel like the tech industry is an industry that is extremely reactive. And I don't think that that's necessarily due to poor management on their part. It is simply just the nature of that business. When you're looking at technology and you're looking at a possible recession, people are going to start cutting the costs of their streaming services. They're going to stop upgrading their phones, their computers, their laptops, those types of things. So
yeah,
it is not through their own fault that they have to be reactive, just like retail. But something that I found interesting and I haven't had a chance to look into is so many of these layoffs are coming after almost a year of talking about staffing shortages. So that's something.
right. Well, and I guess I understand what you're saying, like 100%. But to me, I think it is a little bit a case of poor management. And the reason that I think it's a case of poor management, I mean, apart from the fact that I think that good management is just like treating people decently.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying they're not at fault here.
Right. Is that it's not actually saving these companies any money, because a lot of the people that they lay off, they end up rehiring as contract workers. And so like maybe they feel like they're saving money because like maybe their payroll taxes aren't as significant as they were previously. But the people who are contractors are then charging more per hour to cover the cost of the fact that they are now a contractor and they have to pay their own taxes. So, and really, there's also some evidence to suggest that these companies are spending more money than they would have had they actually just kept people on their payroll because of those, like the increased payroll costs of paying contractors versus paying employees. So like what you feel is true when it comes to management is almost never actually true to my mind.
Right. Now I'm stuck on we were hearing about staffing shortages for much of last year, and now we're seeing layoffs, and that's just, it's an interesting shift. And it's really unfortunate because that piece I do feel is poor management, like 100%. Like you can control that. Like you can control knowing how many people you need to work and how many people you say you need to work. Then to shift that all of a sudden, I don't believe that there's been that much of a change in their product demand at this point. Because like you said, it's a reaction from other companies doing it right now.
Well, and I was trying like just this second to remember there was a company that was like very recently they were thinking about laying people off. It was a tech company, and And specifically, they were thinking about laying people off in their like recruiting team. But instead, what they did was to basically farm their recruiters out to other departments in the organization so that they could gain other skills and build on the skills that they had instead of laying them off. And it's really bothering me that I can't remember the name of the company.
And I'm sorry because I don't know who it is, but I've also like
It might
in
have been like
general.
Zillow or something like that. Anyway, I'm so sorry. In general,
I can definitely see Zillow doing it. Could it Zapier?
that was it. Zapier was the one. Anyway,
So Zapier is a really cool company, and if anybody from Zapier is ever listening to this, please know that it is my dream to work there.
same.
We have, gosh, between the two of us, I don't even know how many jobs we've applied for at Zapier.
Oh, it's a lot. It's
Over the
a lot.
almost a decade between the two of us is probably at least 20 jobs. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna have to go back and look.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Zapier is a really cool company in general. I appreciate their management approach.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So one thing is we're approaching our 6:30 closing time.
mhm.
I haven't actually done a deep dive into this. I keep meaning to and then getting distracted.
Welcome to us.
Right. As a policy fix, because we talk about that here,
Ooh.
is I keep seeing this story kind of like do the rounds on social media. There was a tech company that had an office both in Los Angeles and in Paris. The company was facing layoffs. Now, in the United States, their office in the US, the people were just laid off unceremoniously. I might be making this up, but like probably by email. In France, the same group of people were placed on what's described in this story as a 1 month paid garden leave while the company proved that they weren't just trying to cut costs and rehire like low paid employees or contract workers, like that these jobs were legitimately being eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a government policy. As I understand it.
Seems like an incredible policy to have in place to protect workers.
And I know that the French often get the short end of the stick when people in the US are talking about them. We like to mock them. But I'm gonna be real honest, their history of rioting for workers' rights really seems to have panned out well for them. So
True.
I would definitely not be upset if something like that happened in the United States.
Mm-hmm. It would be amazing to see something like that come out. I think I think in our lifetime we'll see some progress in those areas, because I feel as though a majority of people are starting to see the benefit of treating workers fairly. I don't know, maybe I'm being too optimistic. But it is my hope that we will see some progress in that little corner of policy sometime in the next 20-25 years. Hopefully sooner.
Yeah, that would be great. I will just throw out there for any like employer, I myself will have a small human legally able to be employed in the next 8 years. So if you could take it into gear in that amount of time for kind of the next generation of workers, there's at least one parent who would be super appreciative of that. And I'm guessing I'm not the only one.
Probably not, no. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I would also be very appreciative of it, because I'm pretty fond of your kids.
Oh, thanks. I think they're pretty cool.
They are pretty cool.
All right, so as we close out for real, please join us in all of the places. There will be a link in the show notes to our Discord server. You can reach us via email. Also in the show notes. We put out TikToks periodically. We're on Mastodon. So yeah, come and find us on the internet so we can keep talking about workers' rights and whatnot.